Welcome back to the Saturday Scholars College Football Podcast. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. That is Gonzo. That is Ann. I am Shoob, and we are here to do Week 6 picks. Let's go. Another great week is here for us, and we are excited about it. Well, boys, I keep forgetting to mention to tote our records a little bit, though. There isn't really a whole lot to tote about our spreads. So Gonzo went 9-1 last week. He had a good week. I went 8-2, Zan 6-4. You could see our spread records on the screen overall on the season. So on the year, in terms of picking games straight up, we're doing pretty well. Somehow I have the best straight up record by 2 games, but I am lacking in the spread department. And it is killing me with those units, those hypothetical units. But you guys are still positive on the year, which is very good, very hard to do, especially when technically you have the sports books working against you. But anyhow, I think overall we're still having a good solid season, and there's a lot of ranked matchups this week. There's a lot of teams that cracked the top 25 in this week's AP poll, and they're playing other ranked teams. So we got another board full of ranked matchups, and I think this is low-key another great week. So let's start off with Red River. Oklahoma versus Texas, number 12 versus number 3. Texas is a 5-point favorite. This is a huge game. Oklahoma is looking really good. These are 2 teams that are looking like potential national championship contenders. And these are pretty much, as of right now, probably the best 2 teams in the Big 12. So there's a decent chance this might be a rematch later on in December. What do you guys got here this year in the Red River shootouts?
Hook them on the money line. I think Texas will win this game. And I hate doing this, but I think Oklahoma is going to keep it close. I really see this as a field goal game.
All right. I am actually, so when I look at this, here's my thought process. Both teams are much improved this year. Oklahoma has actually improved on defense this year, which has always been kind of, can Oklahoma get that figured out? Oklahoma's also averaging near 50 points a game on offense, and they've proven that they can score against basically anyone that they played up to this point, and that it wasn't just a mirage versus a really bad Arkansas State team. They put up 50 against Iowa State, who has a pretty good defense. They have some NFL guys on that defense. So Quinn Ewers versus Dylan Gabriel, who do you think can deliver a more consistent game? And I think it's Dylan Gabriel, Boomer Sooner, both ways.
Ooh, okay. I was not expecting that. All right. So Zan's got the Sooners. I mean, listen, OU has looked a lot better this year than we thought. We talked about how their defense has looked a lot better. As Zan mentioned, Dylan Gabriel is taking a step forward this year, which didn't seem like it was possible for him to do that. And he looks like he is doing that. And if you're Texas, I mean, you already had that huge game against Alabama. You blow out Kansas last week. Are you ready to take on Oklahoma? They're probably feeling pretty good about themselves. Texas probably is going to walk in this game really confident, especially after what they did last year. Now, let's not forget, Oklahoma's got that revenge factor because they got absolutely embarrassed and drug into the ground last year. What was it, 49-0? Davis Bevel.
Mm-hmm.
Yikes. Yeah, that was brutal.
They want revenge, man.
They got that huge revenge factor in this game. I cannot wait for it. Sagarin's power ratings have these 2 teams as dead even. So this should be a pick 'em on a neutral field. Vegas doesn't feel that way. However, the Shoob power ratings, like Texas, as a 7-point favorite. I'm going hook 'em, touchdown in this game. That's the difference. And I'm going to take Texas both ways. So we're going to have a difference of opinion here on the winner and the spread between the 3 of us. So this will be an interesting one. I'm looking forward to it.
I like it.
All right. Maryland versus Ohio State. Now, I know this is an 18-point spread. Maryland is not ranked, but these are 2 5-0 teams playing against one another. Maryland, do they have a chance in this game? What do you think, Gonzo?
Ooh. I would have felt more confident on taking Maryland to cover if Ohio State wasn't coming off of a bye. And given that the game after Maryland is Purdue, I think Ohio State wins both ways. I think they start flexing the muscle, and I think Talia throws a few interceptions, and that's my big thing there. I just think this defense is going to shut him down. hence shutting Maryland's offense down. So I think they win by 3 possessions, the Bucks.
Yeah, this one's really tough. I mean, Maryland has a great offense. Ohio State off the bye week. And you know what? Kyle McCord is figuring things out a little bit. And they do have good running backs to really take control of possession if they need to versus Maryland and keep that potent offense off the field, that passing offense of Maryland off the field. I think from a matchup perspective, and it's also at Ohio State. So from a matchup perspective, this is also heavily favoring the Buckeyes. I'm going with the Buckeyes both ways as well.
All right, so we're all on Ohio State so far. Well, I'm taking Ohio State to win. I mean, they are going to win this game. I'd be shocked if they don't. But I'm going to take Maryland to cover the spread. Give me the Terps. I think that they can keep this a 2-possession game. And I'm kind of banking on a little bit of sleepwalking from Ohio State potentially. And I think Maryland's going to get up for this game. And I would normally fade Maryland in this situation, but they do play up to their opponents. They did that last year. They have a good quarterback. They have good skill position players. I mean, we'll see how it goes, but I'm gonna give them plus 18 points there. Give me that for the Terps. All right, LSU at Missouri. LSU coming off that heartbreaking loss to Ole Miss last week. They fall into number 23. They are still a 6.5-point favorite in Columbia. Missouri, welcome to the top 25. Missouri is 5-0, and again, they were a home dog in this one. What do you think, Gonzo? Is this trouble for LSU? Are they on quit alert?
Not on quit alert, but they are on sleepwalk alert. 11 a.m. Central Time kickoff. You got Auburn the next week in Death Valley. I think LSU wins, but I think Missouri's going to cover because I have no reason to have faith in this defense. And I have no reason to think that LSU will win this game by multiple scores. I am terrified of Luther Burden. What he's going to do to this secondary, you might have to black out the TV. I mean, but I have the Bayou Bengals winning and the Mizzou Tigers at least keeping it close. Again, another field goal game in my mind.
Mizzou is so quality on both sides of the ball this year. They have a good defense. Quarterback play has stepped up tremendously. Luther Burden looks amazing. Running back play is good. I mean, this is a good team. Missouri is a really good team. They're definitely a top 25 team. Like, that is not a pseudo rating. They're definitely a top 25 team. They're at home, daytime game. You know what, man? Mizzou both ways. Give me the Tigers.
I blame you one bit.
I love it. Yeah, this is definitely a winnable game for Missouri. I mean, obviously LSU is on upset alert here. So I feel like I always pick LSU on this podcast for some reason, and I don't know why. And I promise it's not because Gonzo's here, but like I don't know why I always pick LSU. I mean, you go back and watch our preseason predictions if you want to really make fun of me. But yeah, I mean, clearly LSU is not the team that we thought it was. Secondary is weak. However, to me, if Missouri is going to win this game, I mean, Brady Cook is going to have to play like the best game of his life, in my opinion. And like we mentioned, he has taken a huge leap forward this year. The question is he an elite quarterback that can take advantage of a secondary? Like, has he taken that much of a step forward this year? I mean, is he on Jackson Dart's level? I don't know if he's on Jackson Dart's level just quite yet. He's getting there. I think there's a slight matchup advantage here for LSU, and I think we learned last week from Notre Dame that teams can overcome heartbreak and do it to another team the following week. And I think LSU is going to do that. Give me LSU in a close win, and by that 6.5-point spread, I'm going to have Missouri covering. And I think I'm with you. I think it's going to be a close game. Missouri is going to give them a good fight, but I think Missouri will cover the plus 6.5 points. LSU wins by 1 score. So, out to the Pac-12. Pac-12 every single week, week in and week in out. It's looking good. It's some great matchups. Another great one. Washington State. They're now number 13. I believe they're coming off a bye week, and they're going on the road to face UCLA. UCLA is unranked, but they are a 3.5-point favorite. So what do you guys think here?
So we got both teams coming off a bye, and you know, the spread seems to indicate this would be a fairly even matchup at a neutral site. It's simple. I'm taking a team with the better quarterback. Give me the Cougs. I get points too. Absolutely. Cam Ward all day.
Throw me in detention because I'm about to get caught copying Gonzo's homework. I'm also taking the Cougs.
I love it.
Same reason. Quarterback.
So I'm with you guys here, but I'll play devil's advocate. What does the Pac-12 do week in and week out?
It beats itself up.
They cannibalize each other. This screams like road matchup or Wazoo as a letdown game, and they lose on the road.
I guess,
because
but
they're undefeated.
UCLA, their home field advantage is like not a home field advantage.
Yeah, that's a big point too.
They fill like 20% of their stadium every game.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I'm taking Wazoo. I'm with you guys. I'm taking Wazoo outright and, of course, to cover the spread. But
like this is basically a neutral site game to me. Like,
yeah, I mean,
I'll just say this: I'm taking Wazoo, but I think this is going to be close either way, and I'm not going to be shocked if UCLA wins. Like I'm thinking this could be one of those games where Wazoo drops one. But we'll see. I think that this is the classic Pac-12 cannibalizing each other scenario right here. But we'll see how it goes.
so are you hedging? Are you taking UCLA on the cover?
No, like I said, I'm taking Wazoo.
Okay.
I'm still sticking with it. Like I want to see Wazoo win, but I am also very nervous about it because this is the fundamental Pac-12 cannibalization game where the home team wins and the undefeated team takes their first L. All right. On to the SEC. Number 11, Alabama is a 3.5-point favorite at Texas A&M. These two have played in some great games in recent years. This has been a hell of a rivalry. Texas A&M always gives Bama their best shot. Last year, I mean, they almost beat Alabama, and that team didn't even make a bowl game. And the year before, they did beat Alabama. So what do you think is going to happen here?
so we've got a Bama team that had a nice win this weekend that usually struggles on the road against an A&M team with Max Johnson calling the shots, who had a pretty good win against a decent Arkansas team. With a 3.5 spread. Gig 'em.
Love it.
Yes.
3.5-point underdog.
Alabama's win total sitting at 10.5 this year. And a lot of us thought under was a very good play for that, especially they've already got a loss. We thought Texas for sure was a loss, and we were right about that. I'm saying we win right here. Loss number 2, win total 1. Gig 'em. Texas A&M takes down Alabama. Better quarterback. I will always give the benefit of the doubt. If the teams are close in matchup comparisons, I will go with the better quarterback. Give me A&M.
Man, you guys are killing me here. So, listen, is Max Johnson better than Jalen Milroe? Passing wise, yes, but Jalen Milroe has got that running ability though, and he's pretty good at it. Like Jalen Milroe does show flashes of great quarterback play, even though it's not consistent. Listen, we all know this is going to be a competitive game. It's going to be close either way. I don't expect a blowout either way, but gosh dang it, guys. I'm going Gig 'em. I'm going the Aggies here. I want one of us to take Alabama. I was really hoping one of us would, but I got to go with what I had in my mind going into this segment. I'm taking Texas A&M. I mean, Max Johnson has shown the ability. We're going to really need him to thread some needles and get some great passes off if A&M is going to pull this off. But
A&M has the better receivers, the better passing quarterback. A&M's got enough dogs on defense to keep it close. They're at home. They're motivated to win this game. Alabama's not the juggernaut they used to be, although they are still a good team. It's totally winnable for A&M. A&M's definitely improved this year.
There's more pressure on Alabama to win this than Texas A&M. The pressure might be on Jimbo, but from a program perspective, a lot more weight on the Tide.
I agree.
yeah, I would agree with that too, actually. And to be fair, Max Johnson came in against Auburn. Auburn's got a really good defense. Their offense might not be that good, but Auburn's got a really good defense, and he threaded the needle against Auburn. So I think that gives us some confidence for this pick.
If it's worth anything, and this was 2 years ago, but 2021, when he was with LSU, they almost took them out in Tuscaloosa. That came down to a Hail Mary at the end.
That is
So if
right.
Max can play somewhat confidently, I really like the Aggies' chances to steal this.
All right. We're talking ourselves in this one. I like it. All right. A&M across the board as 3.5-point underdogs. Let's go. Let's go into the ACC. Syracuse coming off a loss to Clemson. They're facing number 14, North Carolina. North Carolina is undefeated, and they're a 9-point favorite at home. What do we got here?
Man, I hate the 9. I think UNC wins. I mean, in the quarterback comparison, I like Garrett Schrader, but he is like their only offense. And with that being said, with Garrett Schrader literally being the only offense, even for a defense like UNC's, which is kind of a little better than I think we anticipated this season, they can just key in on him, shut him down from the run game, play somewhat competent pass defense. I think they cover both ways. And part of this is because I do have a bad taste in my mouth on taking Syracuse to keep it close versus Clemson. But I like Tar Heels both ways.
So, I mean, North Carolina's at home. They have the better team. They have the better quarterback. But although Drake May hasn't been as good as he was last year, he's been a little off. He's definitely a shell of what he used to be, although the defense has improved a little bit. I think Syracuse has a good enough defense to keep this close. I think Schrader has enough juice to where they might even mess around if Drake May plays bad enough and potentially win this game. But I'm not going to pick Syracuse. I'm picking UNC. But I think Syracuse can keep this within 9. I'm going to take Syracuse to cover.
I'm totally with Zan here. I actually like Syracuse a lot on this spread. I think they'll keep it a 1-score game, but I am going to take UNC to win at the end of the day. But I see this game as a close one that could be an upset for Syracuse. I'm still I'm still not as high on North Carolina as most everyone else. And, I'd argue this. If you want to talk about just on the field stats this season so far, Garrett Schrader has been better than Drake May. Like, we just want to talk about what has happened this year so far. Garrett Schrader's been the better quarterback. But, I mean, we'll see. That could change in a heartbeat, obviously. So, I like Syracuse +9, though, a lot. All right. UCF, you want to talk about heartbreaking losses. This is more like a gut-wrenching loss that they took last week to Baylor. I mean, UCF, that was brutal. Now they're going to go on the road to face Kansas, and Kansas is coming off a beatdown against Texas. But what we've seen from Kansas is that they can take those beatdowns and then show up the next week just fine. I think we've seen
They've been used to getting beat down for a decade. So, yeah.
Yeah, seriously. That's nothing new to them. They are a 3-point favorite. John Reese Plumlee, I think we said he's going to be out for another week or so. So it's probably going to be Timmy McClain.
Jalen Daniels might also be out. This might be the battle of the backups.
This is the battle of backups, boys. Kansas is a 3-point favorite, so Vegas is telling you that they like Kansas in this one. What do you think?
Even in the battle of the backups, we alluded to it. Jason Bean is a quality backup quarterback to have. Rock Chalk, Jayhawk both ways. The home atmosphere in Kansas, though not the most intimidating in college football, it is at least been given a pulse, and those fans will show up. And UCF has enough of a national reputation where you want to beat these guys. Their fans tend to talk a lot and build the program up to be something that it may not be. And also, how do you bounce back from blowing a 4-touchdown lead at home? I am curious how much of that lingers as they head out to Lawrence to play Kansas. So rock chalk both ways.
UCF is going to start 0-3 in Big 12 play. Rock chalk Jayhawk.
Rock chalk across the board so far. So it's a great point, Gonzo. Which team is going to bounce back? You have Kansas that got obliterated by Texas last week, and then UCF obviously blowing the 35-10 lead in the going into the fourth quarter. Which team bounces back? Which team has the better backup QB? They're both pretty solid backup QBs, but give me Jason Bean and Kansas. Rock chalk across the board, baby. Win and cover that 3-point spread. Yeah, I like Kansas, and I don't know what the over-under in this game is, but it's probably going to be in like the 70s, I imagine. So there's going to be a lot of points scored in this one. I think that's a given. All right. How about this ranked matchup? Kentucky 5-0 coming off a beatdown against Florida last week. They got to go on the road to face number 1 Georgia. Georgia is a 15-point favorite, and guys, oh man, this is killing us this week. We've been taking Georgia on the spreads so far this year. I'm pretty sure off the top of my head, is Georgia like 0-5 or 1-4 against the spread this year?
Probably so. They have
I think
not been
they are.
dominant.
They haven't covered
At all.
anything.
So they are 0-5 against the spread this year. What do we got?
Correct. So, do we think Ray Davis can at least run for 100 yards against Georgia? I mean, probably not. We've talked about Kentucky's offensive woes and kind of how one-dimensional they are. So I think Georgia's going to win this game. You know, I love this pseudo hype of, oh, can Kentucky beat Georgia and seize the East? And every time we see that, it's like a 16-point Georgia win. That being said, I'm taking my hand off the stove. I do not care if they win the game by 40 and I'm wrong. I'm going to take Kentucky to cover because I am sick of taking Georgia on these spreads and then they don't give an absolute rip. And if I'm wrong, so be it. But I have enough data to show that Georgia does not care enough to win by multiple scores. So Wildcats, keep it close. They lose the game 28-18. Sure.
What's the over-under for this game? Does anyone know? I'm kind of curious.
I don't know, but I think I know where you're going.
I'm
with
thinking
this one.
under.
Yeah, agreed.
I'm thinking under. And I'm thinking Kentucky's going to have a hard time scoring the ball. Georgia's just going to stack the box, stop Ray Davis, force the QB to beat him, and their 5-star corners. And then Georgia themselves hasn't been that great on offense, and Kentucky's defense is pretty solid. I think we might end up seeing like a 16-7 kind of game or like a 23-14 kind of game. And just by nature of teams not being able to score much, I have to take Georgia to win because I think they're better. But just by nature of them not scoring a lot of points, that means there's not a lot of disparity. So I'm going to take Kentucky to cover.
Seems like we are learning our lessons from last week. I agree with you, Zan. The over-under is 48. I would probably lean under in that for sure. And this is going to be a rock fight. Devin Leary especially is disappointed. I don't know if Kentucky is going to be able to do what they did against Florida. I mean, that was sort of like their play possum for the first 4 games and then really come out and give Florida a huge curveball and just run it down their throats with Ray Davis. I agree with you, Zan. I don't think Kentucky is going to be able to score many points. And on the other hand, how many points is Georgia going to be able to score on Kentucky? I think that's the deciding factor for me in this game. Are they going to score enough to cover that 15-point spread? I'm going to say they don't. I agree with you guys. I'm going to take Kentucky to cover that spread, Georgia to win, obviously. Georgia will win this game. I'm very confident about that. But it's just a matter of by how much. And if you're giving us basically 2 touchdowns and a point there, I will take that. And if Georgia finally decides to cover their spread this week after we finally like cave in and fade them, I'm going to be very pissed. Just put it that way. So Georgia, if you flip the switch this week, I am not going to be happy. All right. Notre Dame versus Louisville. Man, Notre Dame has just been in some banger games so far this year. They have been through the rocker and a half. They are now back up to number 10, and they are the 6.5-point favorite going at number 25 Louisville. So Notre Dame is getting the ACC's best shot here. I will say that in conference play, or well, technically not conference play, but it is their ACC contractual games.
Contracted play.
Right. We'll say that. Yeah. So what do we got here? It's a 6.5-point spread in favor of the Irish.
So you got a Notre Dame team that's been on just an absolute ride these last 2 weeks. You are a yard away from beating Ohio State. You are a Sam Hartman scramble away from losing to Duke. You come in against a Louisville team that's undefeated. We've admitted it's a little bit fool's gold. And it's also a Louisville team that still has a first-year coach that's still put together, mostly through the transfer portal. And with all this kept in mind, I'm going to take Notre Dame both ways. I like this defense. I like Sam Hartman. And I think they win by more than a touchdown.
Yeah, I mean, there's a man in a red suit with a Louisville Cardinal jacket on, scrolling down, trying to sell some snake oil. And the Notre Dame Fighting Irish are going to say, no, sir. No, sir. Notre Dame's going to win this by at least 2 scores, and Notre Dame both ways.
At least 2 scores. Well,
I'm kind
I
of
will
inclined to
say
agree.
Louisville did play pretty poorly last week against NC State, who's not been a good team this year. We talked about that on the pod, which, by the way, if you haven't listened to that or watched that, highly recommend you go watch our recap videos or listen to them. Yeah, I think Louisville has definitely been playing down to their competition so far this year. I do think that they're going to give Notre Dame a good effort here, but I'm with you guys. I still think Notre Dame is the better team. And I mean, you cannot question if Notre Dame will be able to perform in crunch time, because like that's all they've done so far this year is played in like freaking absolute like nail biters and been on both sides of them. So I don't doubt Notre Dame's ability to close out a game, put it that way. I don't doubt Sam Hartman's ability to close out a game. And I think Sam Hartman will close out this spread for us, lay the 6.5 with the Irish both ways. All right. Fresno State at Wyoming. Had to throw a G5 game on here because this is a 5-0 team versus a 4-1 team here. Wyoming has looked pretty solid so far this year, exceeding expectations. And then you got Fresno State, who has maintained their expectations and probably been better than people would have thought after losing Jake Hayner to the NFL. This one is going to be a big swing game in the Mountain West, guys. This could be a preview of a Mountain West championship game potentially. We'll see how it goes, but this is a big one in that conference. It's at Wyoming, and Fresno State is a 6.5-point favorite.
And these kind of matchups where it gets difficult, I'm again falling on our old cliche of the better quarterback, and I like Mikey Keene for Fresno State. So I like Fresno State to win, but you don't just come in the Laramie and win via blowout. I think Wyoming keeps it competitive. Fresno straight up, Wyoming on the spread.
Wyoming's been pretty good. People were giving Texas Tech a lot of crap for losing to them, but they've actually been a pretty quality team, and which is really interesting because they always lose so many players in the portal. It just speaks volumes. Wyoming is one of those quiet teams that's very quietly well coached and develops talent really well.
Mm-hmm.
So shout out Wyoming, shout out Cowboys. But with that being said, I mean, Fresno State is the better team. I mean, they got a wide receiver who I think is going to play in the NFL, and Eric Brooks. They've got a really solid squad. I think Fresno State wins this game. I think it's going to be a lower scoring affair. Fresno State struggled to find a little bit of a groove versus Nevada last week in the late night game, and this is also a late night game. I think Wyoming is going to keep it close, and I would actually be leaning towards the under on this. I don't know what it is, but I'm thinking this is going to be a lower scoring affair, and because of that, I think Wyoming will cover.
So you got both of you have Fresno winning and Wyoming covering. So I like that call, Zane, on the under once again. Both of these teams, their strength of their team, I would say, despite the great quarterback play from Mikey Keene, is the defense of both of these teams. Wyoming's offense still really isn't the greatest, but they rely on that defense. However, I am going to disagree with you guys here. I am going to lay the 6.5 with Fresno. I'm gonna say that Fresno goes in there and wins by at least 7 points. So I'm gonna take the bait there on the spread and fade you guys. But we'll see. This will be an interesting game. If there's really bad games this week and there's nothing else to watch, I'd probably throw on this one late at night if you really are just starving for some good football or close games. So this could potentially be a good one. All right, guys. Week 6 picks in the books. We are going to try to maintain our very solid outright straight up pick record, and we're going to try to maintain hovering above water. At least you two will on the spreads. I'm going to try to get to the 500 mark and get to that 500 line and see if we can keep it up from there. But it has been tough. Overall, however, we still are correct on the spreads more than we are wrong as a group. So good job, guys. And once again, thank you guys for watching. If you are on YouTube, thank you for listening. If you're on pod, this is the Saturday Scholars. For Gonzo, Zan, and Shoob, we are signing out. See y'all later, and enjoy your college football Saturday.